Bueno, esta finca era una...
Well, this farm was purely milk production. We had Holstein cattle for more than 20 years when I finished college.
años, cuando yo termino la universidad empiezo a...
When I finished college, I started to work in the farm and I started to be interested in the arborization of the farm.
Ya de ahí me entra el...
There I got a taste for plants and I started to make a small transformation of the production process
productivo y
and started to generate and build the nursery of the San Ignacio farm, as this place is called.
se llama este sitio. El enfoque del vivero, no tanto el vivero, sino yo lo manejo.
The focus of the nursery, not so much the nursery, but I manage it in synergy with the farm with milk production. Basically, we have tried to make a combination
Donde la producción de algunos árboles
where the production of some trees that provide us with fodder began to produce on the farm to try to provide green material for the livestock.
verde al ganado, se empezó por ese lado.
We started on that side. We started to build live fences. We started to try to change the microclimate of the farm.
Barrera rompevientos, también la parte
Windbreaker barrier, also the part of environmental care, the part of biodiversity and beautification of the farm.
de la misma, no solo producción, sino
Not only production, but also the visual part, which is very important for me in the management we have in this farm.
esta finca. Empezamos a revisar las necesidades.
We began to review the water resource needs that we have had for both the milk production and the nursery.
Con la parte de vivero, buscamos
We looked for the investment to make a deep well.
pozo profundo.
We made the permits. We made the diagnosis. In this farm, more or less in summer.
Más o menos se gastan en verano, más o menos para una...
More or less for a good production, we can spend about 9 cubic meters per day.
Y al ver esa problemática,
And seeing that problem of not having an electricity network and the environmental approach we have of caring for the environment,
vimos que la mejor opción sería
we saw that the best option would be to do it through a photovoltaic system,
poder tener nuestro recurso.
to have our resources and the farm.
Primero buscamos a una empresa
First, we looked for a company that had basically investigated about solar energy,
sobre la energía solar, sobre la capacidad que
about the capacity we need to install to be able to irrigate the paddocks,
hacer el riego en los potreros, como el riego
as well as the internal irrigation in the nursery.
con la empresa.
We did the study with a company. We came to the conclusion that we need more or less a pump of 4 horses.
Al hacer el estudio,
When we did the study, we realized that we needed for the pump of 5 horses.
30 paneles
We need to install 30 solar panels of 325 watts,
una potencia de 9.7
and with that we need to install 30 solar panels of 325 watts, which gives us a power of 9.6 kilowatts.
produce una bomba eléctrica de 5 caballos.
Give the capacity, the power that an electric pump of 5 horses reproduces.
El acceso a la energía eléctrica.
Among the benefits of solar pumping, we have many regions where there is no access to conventional electricity. So there are many communities that, due to the lack of electricity, do not have access to water. So let's say that these solar pumps with solar panels allows access, improves access to water to many communities.
Mecánica, hay
So there are communities where they get water mechanically. There are others that have to bring water from a river. That is the first aspect. The second aspect is clean energy.
la huella de carbono, por ejemplo, este proyecto
It reduces the carbon footprint. For example, this project is a project that starts with a solar pumping system without carbon footprint.
Estas aplicaciones
So it is one of the other great benefits, and these applications also for farms, for livestock, even where there is no access to energy, where there are remote sites and cannot have electricity grids.
de bebederos de ganado. Entonces digamos que
They can implement their solar pumping system for the irrigation of plants, for cattle watering trouts. So let's say that this application is very large and with great benefits for the communities.
no tiene
Now, that from the point of view of implementation, from the point of view of economic savings, a solar pump has only the investment and the energy is free. The sun does not bill us. So, for example, in this project, where an energy payment of $1,500 to $2 million a month is contemplated, it avoids that fixed operating expense, being an operating cost. It can improve productivity because it makes their product suddenly more economical or more competitive.
proyecto de bombeo solar.
Solar pumping project that was implemented here is with German technology.
Básicamente el cliente tiene
Basically, the client has a deep well. The depth is about 70 meters and the water level is at 60 meters.
hasta 60 metros. Se hicieron pruebas de bombeo.
Pumping tests were done and it was determined that the pump should be installed at 60 meters. A solar pump was installed because here they do not have a large capacity transformer and they do not have a three-phase network. Without a three-phase network, they cannot install a pump to supply water for the nursery.
No trabaja con baterías, sino directamente la energía que producen los paneles hace funcionar la bomba.
The pumping system always works from 8 o'clock in the morning until 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
En caso de requerirse agua por la noche,
In case water is required at night, my recommendation or experience says that it is better to store water than to store energy.
la energía es mucho más económico.
It is much more economical, so what you do is to extract the water or pump the water required during the day to supply it at night.
Día para suministrarla en la noche.
La inversión del pozo profundo
The investment in the deep well was made thanks to the study we had of the water needs of both the nursery and the prairies for milk production.
de la producción de leche, de las praderas para producción de leche.
Basically, the deep well was an investment of almost 100 million pesos.
Millones de pesos.
The photovoltaic system was a version more or less of 40 million pesos.
De pesos. Más o menos,
More or less in the calculations that were made, the investment was recovered in about 5 years.
teniendo que en este momento
Having that at this moment, the energy cost for the irrigation of the nursery and the prairies is 0 pesos.
es 0 pesos.
Inicialmente, pues cuando llegan nuestros clientes,
Initially, when our clients arrive, we mainly rely on the simulator.
¿qué hacemos con el simulador?
What we do with the simulator, it allows us to start with a home screen. It requires us some data that we ask our clients initially.
Para él poder simular, nos exige a nosotros unos datos, que son los que nosotros le preguntamos a nuestros clientes inicialmente.
Then in our case, we will have to ask them the place,
El lugar, la ubicación de dónde se va a instalar,
the location where the pump is going to be installed. We ask him to tell us the height difference to which he wants to take the water.
¿sí? Es como decirlo, de aquí a tantos metros de altura,
It is like saying from here to so many meters of height, I want to take the water, and in addition to that,
de altura, 2 la distancia, que son dos factores diferentes.
we ask him the distance.
Estos factores, pues nosotros empezamos a dimensionar. Adicionalmente a eso requerimos qué cantidad de agua
One of the height difference we have always taken into account
Siempre hemos tenido en cuenta de que
that our solar pumping system, because it is solar, only works during daylight hours.
entonces siempre le decimos a nuestros clientes
So we always tell our clients that it is easier to accumulate water than to accumulate energy.
entonces si de ellos dependiera
It is more economical, so if it depends on them to have a tank according to the water requirement they need.
agua que necesita durante todo el día y si necesita bombear agua,
We tell them to accumulate the water they need during the whole day, and if they need to pump water, better by gravity from that same tank.
pues el bombeo solar les
That is the suggestion we always make, unless during the day the solar pumping system supplies the need.
hasta fincas grandes.
The solar pumping solutions come from small farms to large farms and projects of rural aqueducts. How do we know what is the need of each client? First, what we do is to interpret what their water needs are.
Bueno, ¿cuántas cabezas de ganado tienen?
There are customers who need for cattle watering troughs. So I was asking, how many heads of cattle do they have? If it is an irrigation system the same, what type of irrigation system do they have?
Goteros tienen, entonces
If they have sprinkler irrigation, if they have a drip irrigation, how many sprinklers do they have? How many drippers do they have? We ask them. If it is an aqueduct, how many families will be connected? Then what we do is ask the source if the water will be extracted from a deep well, from a cistern, from a river. Then we get to know each of the client's needs.
ya, ¿a qué
Then we get to know each one of their concerns. It is also important technical issues such as depth. It is a deep well, at what depth we are going to install the water, at which height we have to take the water. Then, with all this information, what we do is introduce it in a design program and we define which is the pumping system that fits the need, and depending on this, we say to them,
en energía van a ser?
we can deliver so much water, how many gallons of fuel will be saved, and additionally,
Pues cuántos galones se van a ahorrar de combustible y adicional
we show you the impact of how you're going to reduce the environmental impact.
impacto ambiental, la huella de carbono en kilogramos de
The carbon footprint in kilograms of carbon dioxide.
Está proyectada
This technology, basically the life of the solar panels, is projected to 20 years.
la bomba como tal.
The pump as such, you have to do some small maintenance every 2 years.
Pero en realidad son
You have to remove it. You have to clean it, but in reality, they are minimal costs compared to the savings and the environmental benefit it generates for our business.
para nuestro negocio.
Bueno, pues aquí tenemos una bomba.
Here we have a pump. It is like the example that we handle.
Esta bombita es la más pequeña que
This pump is the smallest thing that we handle. It is a 1/4 horse pump.
la sección que
In this case, the section that we can see from here, here is the pump, and from here, here is the engine. This pump can deliver up to 5,000 liters per day
5,000 litros diarios de agua.
of water during the sunshine. We can say that from 8 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon.
Adicionalmente,
Additionally, this is an easy to install system
no requiere un técnico especializado.
that does not require a specialized technician to install the pump. We can tell you by means of a video to connect here.
Si podemos ver, este es el controlador
Because if we can see that this is the controller of the pump,
que nos dice que la bomba va.
it is the brain of the pump. This is the one that tells us that the pump is going to be working with so much radiation,
Que está funcionando correctamente.
is delivering so many cubic meters, is working properly, and additionally, we have this little cable that allows us to connect the controller with the panels and the pump.
Nos dan la energía directamente.
Then the panel gives us the energy directly. They do not make a transformation issue.
Y lo que nos hace
It works directly with the energy from the panels, and what the controller does is to control the pump,
nos entregue la cantidad de agua,
that it delivers the amount of water, that it works correctly, and that it tells us I'm not working properly.
que si lo podemos ver, pues él nos va a decir, estoy funcionando, no estoy funcionando.
Because it has some indicator LEDs that if we can see it, it will tell us I am working. I am not working, there is no water. Additionally, this pump has a possibility to connect dry sensors that detect when there is water and when there is no water.
Bueno, para esta bomba, pues la entrada de agua.
When there is no water, the controller simply tells it to turn off because there is no water. It is really that simple. It is very easy. For this pump, the water inlet is through these holes that we can see here. It sucks the water and drives it. The output of this pump is 1 inch of water, and really the operation of the larger pumps works exactly the same. This pump is used for deep wells, and we can also install it in rivers, in streams, always taking into account that these pumps require a cooling jacket. Why the cooling jacket? To cool the motor when it is not in a deep well, the pump requires it to cool the motor.
Todas nuestras soluciones, pues,
All our solutions are with clean energy. We implement solar energy systems.
es específico para el bombeo de agua.
In this specific case for pumping water, let's say that we allow the productivity of farms or access to water to communities through renewable resources with solar energy.
Hicimos para la ejecución del pozo profundo, se hizo
For the execution of the deep well, a geoelectric study was made which gave us a well design of 142 meters deep. After making these studies, it was concluded that the solar pump would be 60 meters deep,
donde nos iba a dar
where it would give us the necessary flow and power to be able to use the water resource in our production.
en nuestra producción.
Ya hablando más técnicamente,
Speaking more technically, according to the water requirement,
digamos que esta bomba podría entregar
let's say that this pump could deliver from 2,000 liters per day up to 5,000. That water capacity is related according to the number of panels.
ella nos permite conectar
Those 3 panels would deliver 5,000 liters per day. So let's say we don't want so much water. Let's say we want only 2,000 liters.
tanta agua.
We are going to connect only one panel. It works at the voltage that the panels deliver,
Funciona al voltaje que nos entregan los paneles, que es 12 voltios.
which is 12 volts, and it really works. It is sized according to the amount of water. It is related to the amount of panels according to the technical data sheet of the pump. If it does not allow us to connect it, then it is going to work perfectly.
El bombeo solar
Solar pumping or solar energy solutions are generally installed in remote areas that are difficult to access.
calculado que para
It is estimated that it takes 4 days to go to these sites and return, plus the associated transportation costs, which is not normal transportation, but sometimes it takes 4 days by boat.
entonces
Sometimes it takes animals. The systems that we have a local monitoring platform, which facilitates this.
¿sí? ¿Qué nos facilita eso?
They have connected through Bluetooth. There is an application.
La gente se conecta
People connect and can visualize what the error is.
para ir hasta el sitio.
This saves us from going to the site, the 2 days to go there to see what the problem is and return.
Que lo que es y
The other 2 days and come back to prepare ourselves to take the solution again.
hacemos es que a través de estas
Then through these Bluetooth platforms or through the LEDs they show,
podemos identificar de qué manera es el error
we can identify what the error is. Many times they can solve themselves
corrijan esto.
because we have trained them. Tell them, well, correct this. Move the pump because suddenly it is working dry. We have to change a fuse that usually burns out. So they are already trained to change them, and then they save costs in terms of making these corrections. And they can solve themselves if we see that the problem is more serious. We definitely have to go. We are already prepared to solve, not go to see what the problem is and then come back again to bring the solution.
No, una invitación a
An invitation to agricultural producers, nurseries, livestock farmers,
que tenemos que mirar otras formas
that we have to look at other better ways to produce cleaner, to improve our carbon footprint. They are technologies that already work very well.
tienen muy buenos rendimientos.
They have good yields. Sometimes you get scared because they are not proven, but they are already in the country. For example, in this area, there are companies that are dedicated
No solo a la instalación,
not only to the installation, but also to the advice so that you can develop your production processes. We are still in the construction of the project.
estamos empezando, esto necesita
We are starting. This needs activities that make the system as a whole. The photovoltaic system is like the heart and the basis for my production.
La invitación es para que todas las personas que estén interesadas
The invitations is for all the people who are interested in solar energy to evaluate the option.
son muchos los beneficios que tiene.
Evaluate the project. There are many benefits. First, the environmental benefit to achieve that their operations, their daily activities,
Emisiones de CO2 que
decrease those CO2 emissions that are leading to the issue of global warming. Second, for companies and small businesses, energy savings are important.
son importantes.
The cost of electricity is an operating cost that has to be associated with the cost of the product. By reducing the cost of electricity,
pues van a mejorar su competitividad. Entonces,
the invitation is also to evaluate the implementation of solar energy projects to reduce these operating costs in their activities.
y finalmente, pues este es el momento preciso. El país tiene muchos incentivos tributarios.
And finally, this is the right time where the country has many tax incentives. There is access to credit with very low interest rates. It is the opportunity to take advantage of these incentives, these credits to invest in renewable energy. The government is motivating enough. It is the right time to evaluate the time to invest in solar energy.